The First Serve, your home of tennis.
Welcome to another big edition of The First Serve. It is certainly your home of tennis. Brett Phillips with you for another week. Plenty on the menu tonight. Aussies lifting trophies around the world. We certainly like that. French Open qualifying week underway. PTCA and AATC. We'll tell you all about that and what that stands for very shortly. You can join the conversation on the Tennis Direct text tonight, 043398 1116. Tennis Direct is Australia's favourite online tennis store. Fast delivery, great prices, free delivery on orders over $150. Visit tennisdirect.com.au right now and you can get that 10% discount store-wide using the promo code FIRSTSERVE10. PTCA, AATC. I'll tell you all about that next on The First Serve.
First Serve Tennis Sunscreen. A quality Australian-made sunscreen to protect those that love their tennis. At sunblesssunscreens.com.au and GLG Green Life Group, your open space specialists, providing landscape, horticultural and environmental services throughout Australia at glgcorp.com. The First Serve, your home of tennis.
Welcome back to The First Serve. A Monday night, we're covering the world of tennis. French Open qualifying going on, a big week to make it into a Grand Slam, and we'll follow all the Aussies with great interest. Also on our socials, our website, thefirstserve.com.au. In the studio, following International Coaches Week last week, two men who eat, sleep and breathe tennis who are at the coalface of the game. Two of the most comprehensive resumes I've come across. Paul Kleverlaan, of course, a lifetime in tennis, on and off the court, director of court coverage, original partner, I've got to say, when this show started many years ago, executive member of the Professional Tennis Coaches Association here in Australia, also involved at the Australasian Academy of Tennis Coaches, manages 3 tennis clubs and centres here in Melbourne South East, in Cranbourne, Narre Warren and Clyde. It's great to have you, Paul, back in SEN. Since, I reckon, about a decade ago, you were involved with us.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. I definitely lost a few hairs since then, but it's always great to be here and great to hear your show. And like the other callers say, it's great to hear what's happening right around.
And I think one of the clubs you're involved in is celebrating a big milestone this year.
Yeah, the Cranbourne Tennis Club, located in Casey Fields, is hit 100 years, established in 1921. So it's a big year for the tennis club and happy to be back on the courts again.
Absolutely. And Lynton Joseph is in the studio tonight, CEO of the Australasian Academy of Tennis Coaches, long-time head coach, author of the 53 Essential Tennis Drills for beginner to advanced players. And a couple of other things that I noticed, Paul, on Lynton's resume. Very impressive. He might get a few calls just from the punters on SEN tonight. Marriage celebrant. And Elvis tribute artist, if you don't mind. Lynton, great to have you in the studio.
Oh, thanks, Brett. I'm actually stoked to be here. I feel really humble that you've given us a chance to talk about the AATC.
I was with my uncle last week who's mad Elvis.
Yeah.
Like when I grew up, he just would sing Elvis tracks all the time. So we might have to tap into this a little bit later on. Paul, have you seen any of this sort of stuff from Lynton?
I have seen a couple, but he's also been known to be a bit of an Andre Agassi lookalike too. So he's got a lot of bases covered out here.
Taking on a few guys. Guys, a bit to talk to you about, and we actually spoke quite a bit off air over Zoom chats last year, as I did with many, many people in tennis. And I love meeting so many people at the coalface who this is your livelihood and you're passionate about the sport. And, you know, we try and pull it apart on a weekly basis. We talk about the positives. I'm here because I love tennis. It's a great sport aesthetically to play, to watch, to be involved in. But it's not perfect like every sport, and governing bodies like Tennis Australia, the AFL, Football Federation Australia, they all cop their whack from time to time, and exactly what their role is. But I want you to just paint, Paul, if I can start with you, just the tennis picture in Australia as you see it through your lens, which is a different lens than what I would see it.
Yeah, I see tennis at the moment. I think it's obviously a little bit disjointed, and by that disjointed I mean all the stakeholders, as in clubs, coaches, associations, regions, the governing bodies. The gel isn't quite there, and you know it's easy to complain and knock people. I'm not here to do that, but I just see it as disjointed. But I also see tennis right now as very exciting times. We're coming out of COVID at the moment, and hopefully we can stay like that. But tennis is a great sport to play, and the conditions, I think everybody is really embracing that. And I see a bit of a surge at the moment at grassroots level, and I hope we can, get that right. And I believe there is a lot of things happening that is trying to put in the right track. But yeah, disjointed, I would say, but with very positive, future.
Lynton, just your lens, you've been involved in the sport for a long time. So you're out there day to day, just living and breathing and talking to so many people, involved with so many people. How do you just view the tennis scene, here in Australia?
Yeah, I'll probably share a similar view to Paul in the sense that he's a little bit fractured out there. But at the same time, if we go back to basics where we focus on competing teams, associations, friendships, community, just what we used to do, why we got involved in the sport. And if we can reach out to all of that, then we're in a better place, I think.
So I want to explore the two organisations that you're involved in. So the PTCA, Paul, the vision to advance the business and standards of tennis coaching for participants to gain more enjoyment from interacting and playing the game. Why was it set up, and what do you feel has been the advantage of creating the PTCA?
Yeah, the PTCA, well, Professional Tennis Coaches Association of Australia, and it's also got bodies around the globe. We really just, one purpose is coaches to help coaches, and it's actually evolved a little bit more than that. We're actually communicating a lot with associations and clubs, but the main thing was coaches helping coaches and just to support coaches and mentor coaches. And, sometimes we feel like we can't be heard, but rather than complain, I get out and do something and try and make a positive impact, and hopefully we do that. And
what do you feel has been the most positive impact that group has made?
I think we actually just evolved before COVID, and so we got struck down, but we did a few personal development days. We did a lot of Zoom calls during COVID. But just for me, that the really most rewarding part is the coaches that have reached out to us and really felt like that they wanted to be heard. And we've got quite a following, and even the associations and clubs, just the actual interaction of people coming to us and saying, it's really good what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. And we're just trying to achieve a positive outcome. There's nothing negative about it.
Absolutely. Lynton, the Australasian, of course, Academy of Tennis Coaches. Tell me more about it. Take me inside a little bit.
I suppose 11 years ago, we're 11 years young now, so the AATC, we'll call it for short, felt there was a gap in the market as a business owner looking for staff, qualified staff. And even now, it's still hard to find appropriate staff because your staff are pretty much reflective of your business and your philosophy, your ethos, and what you want to develop within your own your own business. So we set the company up in 2010 to deliver coach education, because what we found was we wanted to be a boutique organisation. We wanted to teach trainee coaches how to coach as opposed to delivering programs. And for us, that's really important because programs are great, and I can see what's trying to happen with that in terms of participation numbers. But if you can get back to actually hitting a tennis ball repetitively, providing that error detection and correction, that's really important for me. That's really important for AATC. And since December 2020, after COVID, we've run 16 courses throughout the country and Singapore. We've trained 129 staff, of which 119 are currently in gainful employment, because we do spend a lot of time when we get an enrolment is speaking to the actual enrollee to find out, hey, why are you here? What can we do? We speak to their mentors if they've got a head coach and chat to them as to what they think their weaknesses possibly are, and then get to a stage where by the end of the course, we can give enough confidence that they can go out there and apply their trade. I mean, the only difference between myself and someone who we're probably presenting to is the sheer fact that I've been on this earth a little bit longer than them, so I've had a chance to develop and maintain a bit more experience.
So you're endorsed globally, and anyone who goes onto your website can see that and where it expands to, but not by Tennis Australia. And can you tell us why and maybe the battle in that area to be endorsed here?
Oh, look, it's $1 million question. Our door's open. Our motto is opening the door to tennis, and that means we allow everyone to come in. And we provide them as much opportunity as we can, even parents who want to get some skills, some knowledge so they can teach their own children. And that's the way it is. As far as not being endorsed, well, if I just look at our course facilitators and presenters, the calibre, we've got guys like Andrew Hill in Sydney, Rob Casey in WA, Frank Brunsma in Singapore, Michael Robertson here, Jason Lindemann, Paul Kleverlaan. That's just to name a few, and their experience is vast in this industry. They're all business owners. They all run courses for us, but they're people that came to us, came to AATC. We never headhunted. So to me, that's the biggest endorsement, having your peers actually say, hey, I believe in AATC. I want to be a part of it. I want to be here for the journey. Paul and I turned 50 in COVID last year, and I still see another 40 years of leaving a legacy behind of AATC and being a part of it. AATC is here to stay, and the door's always open, and we'd love to work with anyone and everyone that wants to work with us. So, that $1 million question, could give out a prize to find out the answer. But they've evolved in terms of different staff over the years, so I can't comment too much.
Can I ask you, and both of you can jump in here, just about the coaching fraternity here in Australia? I've met many coaches along the journey, and just what their mindset is. I mean, is it where you think it should be in terms of developing best junior talent? Sometimes I'll hear on the grapevine, or people will tell me that there's plenty of coaches sort of running tennis businesses, but are they doing, Paul, maybe the right thing in terms of tennis development, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, it's always a hard one. And development, I think we're going through some changes now, and they're doing a lot of reviews to try and change it. But I guess the structure keeps changing, and the platform keeps changing, so it's very hard to gauge right at the moment. But it feels like sometimes at the top, a lot of people feel like they miss out on opportunities, or there's too few at the top. How do they actually grade it? There's a lot of changes in our systems happening. So a lot of people feel like they miss out, but it's not an easy thing to solve. I'm not going to say that, I can come out. I don't have the answers, that's for sure. And over the years, I did work with the elite a lot when I was younger, but now it's much more a grassroots business. But yeah, it's a tough one.
We'll get a break in. Plenty more to pull apart with Paul and Lynton in the studio. If you'd like to give us a call, 1300 736 736. Our best caller for May gets the $150 voucher from Tennis Direct, and also the First Serve Tennis Sunscreen Pack. It's a sunscreen designed specifically for tennis. Sunblesssunscreens.com.au. You can order yours using the discount code SEM. Back with more on the First Serve.
First Serve Tennis Sunscreen, a quality Australian-made sunscreen to protect those that love their tennis at sunblesssunscreens.com.au and GLG Green Life Group, your open space specialists at glgcorp.com. The First Serve, your home of tennis.
Welcome back to the First Serve. It is your home of tennis on a Monday night. Paul Kleverlaan in the studio. Lynton Joseph, the Professional Tennis Coaches Association of Australia, and also tonight focusing on the Australasian Academy of Tennis Coaches. Both gentlemen have been in the sport a long time, a lot of passion. A few more questions to put to them in just a moment. 1300 736 736. Anytime you call, we put you on. Gentlemen, a few more questions to put your way, and we can take this wherever you like. I suppose the people who aren't in those positions of power, let's call them the little people, if you like. There's plenty, Paul and Lynton, who are passionate about the sport. Do you feel like they have a big enough say in the sport, the little person out there in Australia?
Once again, it's very tough. I think they feel they don't, and there certainly is opportunities to talk to people, but it's a matter of where it goes, I guess. And I guess not everybody does have the answers, and everyone thinks they do. So, it can be a lot better, and I think, communication is the key to everything, but if you can see some action sometimes, it certainly makes a little bit of difference. A bit of transparency is obviously a big thing for people, and, a bit of communication back goes a long way, and then it can often appease a lot of people if they do have angst, and It's not all angst, though. There's a lot of positivity out there as well. Well,
let's get on to some positivity about how we grow this great game that we love. So we are a proud, traditional tennis country, but we're now competing against a huge global market. I mean, I interviewed a young player from Burundi in East Africa, the only player with a WTA ranking on the show here last week. So this sport continues to stretch right across the globe. We're up against, it's such a competitive sport, but how do we grow the game in Australia to keep people in this sport socially for life, the sport you can play for life, and also give the chance for those who have got some elite capabilities a chance to make it on the world stage?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, you've really got to focus on the grassroots, the clubs, the coaches, the associations, the regions. The good players have to come from somewhere originally. So really work on club facilities, really work on access, support the coaches, and really keep the coaches and club linked together. It's very important. But that sounds very simple. And then obviously the pathways, I think a lot of associations and region gets frustrated. There's a lot of tournaments scheduled during competition matches, which really breaks it up. And a lot of those people that are playing those tournaments aren't really at the elite level. So at some point, the ranking system will fall into line and it'll be nice and uniform and easy to follow. But you've got to have a real grade of tournaments, in my opinion, that the elite play more often and more of each other, rather than the people who aren't really going to make it but really want to be competitive and really want to see how far they can go personally. It makes a big difference. But to me, focus on the grassroots, clubs, coaches, associations, regions.
Lynton, can I get your perspective on growing the game?
Yeah, and also establishing real partnerships and relationships with council, because each area is different and each need of each area is totally different too. So instead of having one rule across the board, having various different relationships. Because, I mean, our expertise is actually building partnerships, building relationships, community connections, and it's no different with the council. You find communicating with the council because they're working on their infrastructure. They've got councillors coming and going. So that's a big part of the whole equation as well. And goes back to what Paul said. The future players come from somewhere, and it comes from the clubs.
Can you give me a feel out there? And I don't know, the more I've travelled, and I look at players, for example, young Sato last week coming from Africa who have been starved of tennis success. So for her, it's a way out of a tough upbringing. She gets picked up Morocco ITF Tennis Centre, goes to the Moratoglu Academy, gets a scholarship, she gets a chance. Kids who come from South America, tennis is a way to a better life. They can support their family. Can you give me a bit of a feel into the psyche here, where we're lucky we live in a great country, arguably the best country in the world. We're spoiled for choice. Kids can play so many different sports, and they're not so reliant on that, fostering their life. But our Aussies compete so well as well. I mean, any time you talk to players around the world, the Aussies, they give it everything. John Millman's a great example. Demonor, we've got, Barty's got all the skill in the world, but she's a fierce competitor. Take us inside the mentality of our youth here and what maybe you're observing or seeing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you just look at the word talent and people's opinion of talent and who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. It's a really big thing. And I think a lot of parents, maybe, I'm not sure if it comes from the coaches or where it comes from, but I think you've got to be as good as you can be in your own backyard before you expand. And if you can really focus on being the best in your area, then it's time to move around. Maybe not the best, but you've got to have opportunities. If you've got a small area, I can see why people need to travel. But that's the first thing. And I'd love to see it get to a point where, the area's best come out and then they come to each other more often. So a bit more of a pyramid sort of structure in some degree. But, to see people come through out of nowhere, it's just amazing stories. And it doesn't matter where they come from. It's always an amazing story, and you can't beat it.
Yep. I just got this one on the text. Can someone tell me why Australia only had 2 juniors, 1 boy, 1 girl in the top 100 ITF, and yet the Czech Republic, with only 10 million people, no national academy, as we have, has 4 boys and 8 girls top 100. I mean, they've been a great tennis nation. They keep producing player after player. Probably not a straightforward answer here, but how do you respond to that?
Well, they have snow 4 months a year, don't they, or something like that? I mean, you can paint your own picture with those stats, I guess.
They do have a lot of factors in their favour. I mean, this court surface is probably a major factor. We've got a lot of disjointed court surfaces throughout Australia. They've got a lot of opportunities out there. They have more structured academies and things like that as well. But there's a lot behind it. There might be a lot more support and funding as well behind those players as well to get those opportunities.
Can I get your own take? Paul McNamee is going to be here next week. I went to his book launch on Tuesday, Master Clay to Master Tennis. I think it's going to be a great read. So I've got to get across that in the next 7 days. We were at Royal South Yarra last week, and they put in the green, the Hartrue courts, which obviously we see a lot, Lynton in America, not the red European clay. He believes that's the best surface. He was adamant at the book launch, that's the surface we should have here in Australia that's better suited to the Australian conditions.
Well, Paul joined AATC this year, so I'm not going to disagree with what he has to say. So I say I totally agree with that concept.
But we need more clay courts, don't we? I
mean, of course.
This is the surface that really makes you as a player.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to be teaching all the different aspects of the game, the footwork, the variations, now you've got the synthetic surface. You can just step in, smack.
Mm.
And
I think that's where the governing bodies can make a big difference. And really, we talk about stakeholders and council being, I think, the most important stakeholder of all. But we really got to get that information across to councils if we want to develop players. And maybe not everywhere, but regions could have a bank of courts like that would be awesome.
Lynton, tell us about some great courses you got coming up at AATC.
Okay, so we've got courses set for Melbourne, Perth, and Sydney, and Singapore. We're going to be opening up in Queensland and Adelaide and Tassie, but we're just waiting on the right presenters to deliver those. Our courses are quite cheap. The cheapest courses going around. We get a membership gift, your online resources, you get your members directory. And even coaches who want to join, come and join. We're under $200. You'll get your insurance as well, and we'll recognise current certificates. That's pretty much what we'll be doing. Our website's aatc.tennis as well for anyone interested.
Okay, go and check that out during the week. Now, Paul, I know you're very passionate about seniors tennis. Are you still having a hit?
No, lately the body's breaking down, but I'm always planning the next comeback. So I might join you.
Nice.
There is a tournament at South Yarra coming up, an
Righto.
ITF tournament. So check out the ITF seniors calendar. But yeah, seniors has always been a passion of mine, and I think it's underestimated the value of seniors in the continuation of tennis in Australia. Like if you got a lot of these old men and women out there battling along, but they've all got kids, and most of them have even got grandkids. And if they're playing tennis, you can just imagine the flow and effect that has. And I really think I would love to see the governing bodies. They do support tennis seniors, but I'd love to see them really get behind it a bit more and keep it good at both ends. So you've got the grassroots, we've got to keep growing and keep the seniors in the game as long as we can, and the middle be healthy.
Yeah, part of the sport we love, isn't it? I mean, you go past any tennis club and whatever day of the week and whatever age, this is the great part about tennis. We see Phil Mickelson winning golf at the ripe old age of 50. I mean, you can keep playing tennis, Lynton, until you can't stand vertical and upright.
That's right.
It's amazing how quick the gentlemen at Kooyong start going once they get on that tennis court. It takes them a while to get there, but once they get on that court, they are moving around like gazelles.
They're competitive, I tell you what. Thank you, gents, for coming on. I know it's gone pretty quick. We've tried to cover as much ground as we can. I reckon there's probably a part 2, a follow-up here. Let's keep the discussion going. You're very passionate about the sport. Check out the PTCA and the AATC. And this is something we'll continue to discuss on the First Serve right throughout the year. The pathways, the right way at grassroots level, talking to many people in tennis who only want the best interests for the sport going forward. Very nice work on debut. And if anyone wants to get married, they can come and find you.
Thanks, Brett.
Give us a little sample of any Elvis stuff going to the break.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, very nice. That's just a little sample. We'll take a break, come back and wrap it up. A few bits to finish off with.